Absolutely disgusted. Absolutely disgusted. There's no other word. There's no other word to use right now. That was one of the most egregious things that you will ever see in a professional sporting event. Knicks lose this game 105-103 after what was a fourth quarter, and really a second half, but I'll key in on the fourth quarter and really the last 5-6 minutes of the fourth quarter. That is everything that makes sports great. It is why we watch sports. We watch sports because the players in the uniforms for the teams are there to perform, and it is those people in those uniforms who 20,000 fans and millions of people around the world want to see. They pay good money to see those players. They pay great money to see those players. And if they get a really special situation, you get a game like that where it's back and forth. It's big shot after big shot for both teams coming down the stretch. That is why sports exist. That's why it makes money. That's what people want. No one. Zero people pay to see the referees decide games. It is utter nonsense that we have to sit here and we are deprived of what should have been 5 more minutes of basketball between two teams that, like, man, give the Rockets credit. Young team missing their top guy, Fred VanVleet. I mean, they gave the Knicks everything they wanted. They fought their hearts out in this game. Hit some big shots down the stretch. Made run in the beginning of the end of the third, beginning of the fourth to get some distance, and the Knicks fought back again. I mean, for as hard as the Rockets fought, and for as much as they did, the fight that the Knicks showed in the second half of that game, was it perfect? No, God knows it was not perfect. This is such an imperfect team right now, and I that was what this conversation was going to be about on this post game, about how they are just trying to mix and match with anywhere you turn. If you try to stop one leak, another sprouts up, and you're just trying to stay afloat for as long as you can. And the only way you do that is through effort and digging deep and deep and deep and deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's what the Knicks did in the second half, coming back down from, I think they were down by 16 at one point. They were down by 14 at halftime. Fought all the way back, tie the game, went back down by, I think, 11. I'm pretty sure they went back down 11 again at one point in the fourth quarter, and then they fought all the way back again on what should have been one of the highlight shots of the year for a guy that is in the MVP race in Jalen Brunson. Masterclass shot over a guy that had really had his number for a lot of this night in Dylan Brooks. And that's what we shouldn't be talking right now, because we should be watching fucking basketball. That's what we should be doing. We should be watching basketball right now. And all of us, I don't care if you're a Knicks fan, I don't care if you're a Rockets fan, I don't care who you root for. You were deprived of the thing that you go to the sport to see in the first place. And why? What fucking reason? Like, my initial reaction, like, once they called the foul and then they showed the replay, I'm like, man, it's a foul. It's a foul. And like, would it have been overturned? Maybe it would have been overturned if you consider the fact that it's not a natural shooting motion. And typically when we talk about unnatural shooting motions, we focus on the motion of the legs, like the DiVincenzo foul three-pointer that was overturned at the end of, I believe it was the first half. That was an unnatural shooting motion. So it was overturned. You can have an unnatural shooting motion with your arm. That is what happened there. That is what Holiday had. It was an unnatural shooting motion. So I think it probably would have been overturned if they had the challenge left. Yes, they should have had the challenge. Tibbs used the challenge in the first half. It was not a good use of the challenge. I didn't think so then. Certainly don't think so now. But it's besides the point. It's besides the point because Tom Thibodeau shouldn't need to have a challenge for that situation because that call cannot be made there. In that situation, you cannot make it. Again, for what reason? What are we doing here? What's the point of all this? It's not to see the three people in the fucking gray shirts and black pants. And it's just an abhorrent way to win that game. I don't know if the Knicks would win that game in overtime. I have no idea. They were fucking gassed. They didn't have Dante DiVincenzo, probably, who went back to the locker room with a sore hamstring. Like, all of their guys were tired. I'm looking at the minutes totals here. Hart played 42. Brunson played 39. Achua played 39. You know, like, they were gassed. Maybe they don't win the game, but you know what? They deserve the chance. And we deserve to see it. Again, doesn't matter who you're a fan of. Rockets, Knicks, NBA, whatever. Absolutely abhorrent. Absolutely fucking abhorrent. And I hope Tibbs racks up all the fines in the postgame because that was egregious. And like, I haven't even mentioned the fact that on the game, and look, were the Rockets the more physical team in the first half? Yes. Did most of the free throw discrepancy come in the first half? Yes. The Rockets took 33 free throws in that game. The Knicks took 12. And I'm sorry. You want to tell me there's a discrepancy in favor of the Rockets? Fine. It was not anywhere close to that big of a discrepancy. So this was not just a last play type of thing. This was the entire game where there was an inequality in how this game was called. And, of course, it culminates in that. And it's undeserved. It's undeserved after the way Josh Hart came out and played probably his best half of the season in that second half. Kind of put the team on his back in the way that Josh Hart knows how to do. And he did it. And not to be outdone, Precious Achiuwa. How many rebounds did Precious Achiuwa finish with in this game? He had to have close to 20, I have to think. 17 rebounds, 9 on the offensive glass, and had some, oh my God, did he come up with some incredible defensive possessions on Alperen Sengun. Sengun got him once there down the stretch, but Precious got him more than he got. And you can't ask for anything more for a guy who's he's not a center. He's a 4 playing 5 for this team because they're missing all of their normal centers and they need him to, and they're undermanned. And look, obviously, even if this had gone to overtime, which it should have, and they lost this game, I in that situation, I would have been okay with people being frustrated. I have a tough time right now being hard on this team in any way, shape, or form, given how much they continue to fight. They fought in the Dallas game when they had no business being in that game for as long as they were. Honestly, like, kind of impressed that they stayed with the Pacers for as long as they did, given how the Pacers were making shots in that game. And they fought like hell in this game, you know, and I don't know what more you want. I know they've lost 3 in a row. It's not ideal when you got other teams in the East that are just like, the East is tough, man. The East is tough, but they didn't deserve to lose like this. I mean, Jalen Brunson, look, I know he only went 10 of 25 from the field. The Rockets gave him everything and then some. Brunson didn't always have the best responses throughout this evening. But like, look, he's their offense, you know. Like DiVincenzo did what he could, scored 23 points on 21 shots. He was only 5 of 14 from deep. Like, the DiVincenzo, you know, onslaught was like it's not as great as it's been of late. So like, Brunson was getting everything, and he didn't always adjust great, but man, the dude came up big when it counted. Dude came up huge when it counted. Absolutely massive. And then you saw some big moments from some of the Knicks' new players. Bogdanović was not having a good game. I thought his 2 threes that he missed in the beginning of the fourth quarter were massive as the Rockets were making their push against an offense-first Knick lineup that was not doing what it needed to do on offense. But boy, did he make up for it before the end of that one, and just big shot after big shot. And Alec Burks not quite as helpful. Finished 1 of 8, 1 of 5 from deep, but the 1-3 hit was very big in the moment. It was down the stretch. Got it. We were down 5, got him within 3. Like, they kept punching back. Like, every time the Rockets did something where you're like, man, that feels like it's it. That feels like it's it. That feels like it's too much to overcome. The Knicks would, and there were like 6 or 7 of those moments there in the last 5-6 minutes of this game. Really, every time they needed to come up with a big basket, they did. And they deserved for this game to go to overtime. And it was fucking taken from them. Look, they'll be fine. This team is good. They're going to get healthy. I truly believe there's going to be hell to pay when they do get healthy. And it's like, look, the All-Star game, the All-Star break is 1 game away. You go out. Hopefully you could take one in Orlando. That's not going to be easy. This would have been big. This would have been big. Not the end of the world. This would have been big. You just, how do you lose it like this? It's awful. All right. I don't have anything else to say.
It was well said. And I think we're all pretty emotional tonight and justified. I will just ask you a programming question. Do you want to see a replay from a pretty good angle of this so-called foul?
I mean, I saw the one that was just on Twitter that I retweeted. Oh, I see it now. Talking Knicks has it?
From Talking Knicks. I clipped it. So
I'm looking
here,
at
anybody that wants to
show
watch
it. I'm looking at it right now.
We're putting it on the screen. This was called a foul on Jalen Brunson. If you remember, Dante DiVincenzo had a 3-point attempt where he kicked his leg out at the end of the first half, and it was turned into an offensive foul. And if you look on the replay, this is Holiday, right? That's who the foul was called against? That's who's shooting the ball, John?
Yeah.
Okay. He is kicking his leg out and makes contact with Brunson.
So it's the leg is certainly there. I think the reason that the whistle was blown was because of the arm, but the arm
is also sticking out like a running back.
It's like, we shouldn't have to be sitting here analyzing this. We shouldn't have to be sitting here analyzing that. You just don't make that call there. You don't make that fucking call. You don't make it. You can't make it. Well, it's just horseshit. All right.
I got nothing. It's an unbelievable amount of horseshit. We should be sitting here, even now, just after overtime, analyzing a game where, like, we were impressed by the Rockets while we were watching them. They had a lot of good young players. We were frustrated at times by the Knicks, but then also saw the heart of this team. That third quarter where nobody subbed out and they got back in the game was impressive.
Like,
give
the Knicks credit. They scored 43 points in the first half. The offense was completely dreadful. We questioned some of the lineup stuff. All that's fair game. They scored 60 points in the second half on the road against a team that was giving them everything they could handle, including 32 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you're 100% right.
That's what we should be talking about.
They fought hard to get back in it. There were mistakes were made. They overcame them. Tibbs had some good things, had some things go wrong that he tried. Like, I don't know if anybody's going to bring up the challenge. I can't really fault him for that because, like, you can challenge one thing this game. Like, Steve Popper just had a good tweet. The refs were consistently bad tonight. He would have used the challenge on something else. It probably would have been not in the Knicks' favor. I'm sorry.
The funny thing is, I could see them not overturning that 3-point call because it's a look. You want to say that Brunson encroaches into the shooting space, which he does, and you want to say that, like, the arm. I mean, it's a toss up. Is the arm is what Holiday is doing with his off arm? How unnatural is that? And that's like something just like it's not seen very often. Because when have you ever seen something called an unnatural motion with the arm, with the upper body? You don't. I can't remember ever seeing it. So it's a weird call to have to make, and again, you're overturning it, so it's clear and conclusive evidence of the opposite. And like, look, there is 5% of me that is still like, I wish Brunson just didn't even put that moment in the ref's hands.
So to your point, there's 5% of me that's I wish we had a challenge. That other 90% is the larger, like, how do you make that call? Like, how do you make that call? He shot it with one hand from 40 feet away. And like, you've talked about this. We've all talked about this. This is a consistent issue with the league. And this one decided a game.
And
it's not going to change. It's still horseshit. And we're stuck as the putzes that are going to turn on the game on Wednesday as if this didn't happen. And your ratings aren't going to go down.
Exactly. And 90, I don't know what percent of NBA fans across the world, like, look, people aren't going to see this. This is not going to like start some firestorm. Like, it's a bad call. And you know why it's not going to start some firestorm? Because it happens all the fucking time. It happens all the time, and it has become accepted practice that we are going to deal with mediocrity, if not worse, most of the time. And that is all that there is. So on that note,
we can head into it. Everybody's mad, by the way, so just be prepared. I know you're mad. I'm mad. Everybody's mad.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of mad in these super chats.
What other emotion is there?
Appreciate the 1,100 people watching live. We're all mad together going into this one.
Mythic Monty. These refs suck through the G League. Yeah, I mean, but who are you going to replace them with, right? That's the thing. The NBA would need to completely overhaul how they do this, and they're not going to do that. It's a bottom line league. Red Sarachek. Burks isn't passing, and if he does, it's a turnover. Burks did not have a great game tonight. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat that. He was atrocious in the first half. I thought his presence in the second half was more helpful than not. You just need another guy out there who's going to strike a little fear into the heart of the defense. I thought he helped juice the offense for as much as he did not necessarily make shots. So I look, Burks is a guy who's going to take some stuff off the table sometimes. We know that about him. Hazu, foul on that 3, missed a Senjun travel, LOL, just LOL. I mean, you're probably right. I didn't see it, but Senjun, like, again, we're expecting the refs to call a travel in that situation? No, they wouldn't do that. There are calls that they get wrong, and then there are calls that they do not get right, and you're never going to see a travel called in that situation. You're just not. Nope, not going to do it. Thanks, Hush. Red Sarachek, this coach might run them into the ground before March. I mean, who do you want him to play? This team is trying to do some stuff, and in order to do the things that they want to do, they need to get wins, and they need to maintain their place in the Eastern Conference. They're hurt. You want to, I mean, like, look, they had a chance to win this game. I know they didn't win the game. They had a chance to win this game. You don't play your guys, you don't have a chance to win. It's as simple as that. You don't play your guys, you don't have a chance to win. So you want to go back to organization that doesn't really give a shit about winning like they've been for the vast majority of their history? Have at it. I hope you have fun with that. TJ Akai, no other coach is consistently playing guys 15, 16 straight minutes straight like Tibbs does with iHeart or with Hart, Nate, etc. We could fool ourselves into thinking this doesn't add up, but too much evidence it does. Again, what do you want him to do? Who do you want him to play? Like, to me, this comment, you could have saved yourself a lot of spaces, could have given a cheaper super chat, and you could have just written, I don't care about wins. It's fine. Look, there's a lot of organizations that do not prioritize winning like the Knicks do and do not prioritize winning like this coach does. The reason we're sitting here having this conversation about this team and frustrated about the fact that, like, oh my God, we might fall to the 4 seed. It's all because of this mentality. And I keep trying to tell people, and no one seems to want to understand. They're like, no, I want 87% of that mentality. You don't get to fucking pick and choose, guys. You do not get to pick and choose. Sorry. Colin Reardon, what's going on, Colin? Knicks need to contest this game. Awful. I mean, I don't a lot of good that's going to do. It's not going to change anything. Thank you, Colin. Robert W. Cross, the NBA has a real officiating problem, and that call was poo-poo. No disagreement whatsoever. I agree they have an officiating problem. It was a horrible call. It was a very poorly officiated game all across the board. I don't think the Knicks have been officiated very well this season in general. I think they've gotten hurt a lot more than they benefited. I'm not going to sit here and be like they haven't benefited from some games that have been called in the direction they have, because every team has. I think they've gotten the shitty end of the stick a lot more than they've gotten the good end. Thank you, Robert. Kevin Danishevsky, what's going on, Kev? You're not a blame the refs guy, but Jesus Christ, Knicks should protest that game. Just absolutely despicable in every freaking way. I frankly don't know how the protest process works. I don't know what kind of evidence you would need. Man, there's 0% of me that thinks this is ever going to change for the better. The refereeing problem in the league. It's just not. Thanks, Kev. Plush Zoo, what's going on? I'm glad the refs can have no punishment or fines for egregious calls like this. Truly makes the product great. Hope that ref hit his money line. That piece of shit. Absolutely. What was that, MLA? Yeah, you could give the piece of shit to MLA for tonight. Absolutely. Piece of shit all the way up and down. 100%. No qualms about that. Alex. Fucking bullshit. Yes. Well said, sir. Who gives a crap about the fine? I want Tibbs and any Knicks player who's asked to call out these refs by name, like Anthony Edwards. I don't think they care about the fines. I don't. I truly don't think they care about the fines. We'll see what's said in the locker room. We'll see what is said in the locker room. I'm sure Thibodeau was he was short. I guarantee he's not happy.
Tibbs this is from Fred Katz on Twitter. Yeah. Tom Thibodeau on if he thought that was a foul on Brunson. In quotes, you saw it. And then Tibbs on what he thought of the officiating tonight. It was great. Great. So Tibbs guarded his wallet.
Tibbs, here's the thing about Tibbs, though. He's not going to make a show of it. Like, sometimes he loses his cool. But he's not going to do what, like, Mike Brown did and get the laptop out. Like, it's just not. Because he knows it's not going to change anything. He's been around long enough to know it's not going to change dick. Sam Garcia, what's going on, Sam? I'm not one to complain about officiating, but tonight was embarrassing from Ed Malloy and his crew I don't know if that's a PC word anymore. Let's just say his crew of referees who sucked. It's you saw it throughout the night, and that was the icing on the cake. There's no two ways about it. Like, there were so many other. Like, how many times do Knicks have to end up on the floor? And I understand. Look, I get it. Jalen Brunson plays a certain type of way. And the way Jalen Brunson plays, like, he's going to end up on the floor sometimes. I do think that there are wings that get the benefit of calls that he does not, because he is the size that he is. And it's almost like, I don't know. I almost wonder sometimes what the referees are like. You want to play with the big boys? You're gonna have to put on your big boy pants, and we're not gonna bail you out. That's almost the attitude I feel like they take in some of these games. But it wasn't just him tonight. Like, there was a one on Josh Hart where Josh Hart ended up on the floor, which I thought, like, again, a fair bit of contact. And thanks, Sam. Gabriel Davis, what's going on, Gabriel? In the context of such a physical game, letting them play, that call was especially horrendous. I'm happy you pointed that out, Gabriel, because it's not. Every game is different. Like, some games are called very tightly, some games are not. And you know what's funny though is you're like in the context of such a physical game, letting them play. It was an incredibly physical game, and yet, how many times did the Rockets go to the line? Now, look, again, a lot of those were legitimate fouls that sent the Rockets to the line. I can't say that there were many moments where a Rocket got sent to the line where I was like, that's bullshit. There were definitely a handful of questionable ones where I'm like, really? You're going to call that there? Whereas a handful of on the other end where it's like, so like that would have been fine. Give me like a 28-17, 5 one way, 5 the other way, 28-17. I think that would have been fine. I think that would have been representative of how these two teams came out and played tonight, especially with, again, the Rockets were the more physical team in the first half. Totally agree. But like 28-17, fine. 38-12, not fine. Overall tenor of that game to make that call, very much not fine. And you point out Holiday wasn't even asking for a call. Well, they didn't give him a chance to even ask for it because they blew the whistle right away. And let me read one for Tibbs before I get to Haitian's comment. So this is I really don't care how tight the game is called. I would just like the consistency. They have to use their judgment, and I have respect for that. Didn't go our way tonight. Yeah. I mean, just to try and take the high road. Haitian. Bizarre officiating all night. Poor effort in the first half is the reason we lost. The Rockets did get away with a lot. Bench was much better today. I don't know that I would use the term poor effort. I thought the execution for me was the much bigger part of it. I think, can you say that the Rockets out-efforted the Knicks in the first half? Yes. I think you can say that. I have said that a couple times. I don't know that I would go so far as to say it was a poor effort by the Knicks in the first half. I think the Rockets came out and were like, look, part of that is they got a team full of obviously young players, but like they have a team of really good, tenacious defenders. Like that's how they make their bones. They're really good at that. Like the Thompson kid is out of this world defensively. Brooks, I mean, he's one of the least likable players in the NBA. You want to punch him in the face. He's a really good defender. He screws up a lot of what you're trying to do. I'm probably forgetting one or two guys on their in their group that are also solid defensively. Oh, Jabari Smith. My God, Jabari Smith, man. That dude's like, he's a beast. So all of that, yes, absolutely. For me, I'm putting more of the blame on the execution in the first half. I'm looking at 10 turnovers in the first half, to only 3 for the Rockets. Knicks ended up with 17 turnovers for the game, 7 turnovers second half. You don't love that, but like 10 turnovers first half, way too much. And then the other one, like on the glass, you weren't bringing it how you needed to bring it on the glass. This game was tied 23 rebounds apiece at halftime. After halftime, you out-rebounded them 28 to 16 after halftime. So you dominated the glass after halftime. You did not do that initially. And then just like, you kind of had to make shots. First half of this game, Knicks were 5 of 18 from 3. 28%. They had good looks. Not great looks. They had good looks. Didn't make enough. And Brunson had his worst half of the season in the first half. That was the other thing. So you add all that up. That's to me, I'm looking at all that more than the effort. Gabriel Davis, Precious, amazing tonight though. I thought really Precious and Hart. And you want to say Precious put him ahead of Hart because Hart did not have a good first half? I mean, I don't think anybody had a good first half. With the exception probably of Precious. I think Precious had a good first half, and I think Dante his threes in the first half were their best source of offense. So I think you give the nod. If you want to tell me that Precious was the best player in this game for the Knicks, it's either him or Hart, because Hart's second half was, it was incredible, but like that's how he needs to play, because You know the things he doesn't do. Now, he made threes in the second half. That was certainly nice. But yeah, Precious was incredible. Gave them everything and then some. Armand Bernadjaj, NBA is a referee gambling problem. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, look, it's happened before. It's happened before. And by the way, the game swung. Like the line, I think at the end was like a point and a half or a point in one direction or the other. So, you know. CC Kirby, what's going on, CC? I know the officiating the past few years has been bad, but something has happened to the integrity of NBA officiating since Ronnie Nunn's tenure as head of refs in the mid 2000s. Something changed. I mean, you're getting deep into it there, CC. I'll just say this. Like a lot of people on here, I've been a fan of this sport. I mean, people on here have been a fan of the sport for twice as long as I have. I've been a fan of the NBA for 30 years, more than 30 years now. I was not I was not as intense a watcher, I think, probably when I was a teenager in terms of like really knowing what to look for and being keen on everything. And you know, in the early 2000s, I don't remember ever feeling this way about refereeing over the first 10, 15, even honestly 20 years that I've been a fan. Maybe not that long, because obviously the Donnie, Donahue thing happened but that was like, even that like felt isolated, that felt isolated. Like you had isolated incidents where it seemed like, the league maybe wanted someone to win over the other team. Knicks 94 finals. How you doing? How about that? There you go. Talk about fucking appropriate. 30 years after the Knicks, I'll go to my grave believing that they got jobbed in the 1994 finals because the league wanted to do away with Riley Ball, or what Riley Ball became after he left LA. And I think the refs made that very clear in that series. 30 years after that, same fucking place. Different kind of bullshit. Different kind of bullshit for sure. Same place. Same general aura of bullshit. Unbelievable. Jessica Elsner, what's going on, Jessica? Bummer. They earned that OT. Not cool. Shitty refs. Yep. Short and sweet for Jessica. I appreciate that. Not much more needs to be said. JTM. Does Dylan Brooks have a top 5 most punchable face in the NBA? Yeah, man. He's Halliburton's up there. Brooks is up there for sure. Grayson Allen is up there. Probably missing a couple obvious ones. Those are the 3 that come to mind. Those are the 3. Yeah. Edwards 604. Bullshit. That's all. Again, every one of these super chats could be one word. You don't even need that. That's all. Just bullshit. Bullshit's fine. I feel like we might break our record for curses in one post game on this one, even though it's going to be short. Thank you, Deadwards. Juanon. What's going on, Juanon? Yep, there you go. Does anyone remember Tim Donaghy? I'd love to have his take on the end of that game. Adam Silver needs to take time away from looking like a penis with ears to do something about this. Disgusting. Well, I think we know how Juanon feels about this situation.
Juanon, give the comment of the night. It's always gonna make me laugh. And I wish there was any change that was coming, but if the Tim Donaghy books and documentaries have told you, they're not changing anything.
Like, the reality is the refereeing in the top 10 of things that Adam Silver's concerned about on a semi-regular basis.
Probably, but it's like
really,
even if it is, who cares? Yeah, but even if it is, who cares? He's got enough people complaining about it, but
I don't think he spends one waking moment thinking that the NBA has a legitimate problem with the refs.
I think he spends at least one, and I think he's there's no perfect solution to it, and because the ratings go down, he's not gonna do anything about it. It's like when you have a car, you need a new car, right? But this one drives, so you don't need it.
I'll put it this way: the NBA has their new rights deal coming up. If you were to apportion his the percent of Adam Silver that cares about that and the percent of Adam Silver that cares about the refereeing, the actual product that they're trying to sell, to say that it's 99-1, that's probably a little bit too much respect for the refereeing.
If that's what you're equating, then yes. I'm talking
but that's my point.
If you're doing day-to-day issues, yeah, he gets a complaint by his labor union on a daily basis.
Doesn't care. It's not about the bottom line. It's not about the bottom line.
You mean it is about the bottom line?
No, I'm saying the refereeing is not about the bottom line.
The referee does not contribute to the bottom line. I mean, we're all going to watch on Wednesday, so that's why it's the most frustrating part of this. So I don't disagree.
Yep, there you go. There you go. Gabriel Davis saw Bogdanovic and Burks' value in the fourth quarter when JB was on the bench. Yeah, for sure. I think more bogey, but I think Burks, again, I thought Burks was a plus in the second half. It was awful first half, not good for the game overall, but that's why you get those guys. You get those guys, and they were able to give tips. That's the funny thing is of all the nights that I get it. Look, he's driving DiVincenzo and Precious, he's pushing them hard. And the DiVincenzo hamstring injury, it's absolutely a concern. Wouldn't be surprised if he missed the game on Wednesday. But he's your second best offensive player right now. And if there's one guy that you figure you could kind of push because he didn't have for the first month, really his usage hasn't gone crazy until these last 2-3 weeks. So I think my guess is he just figured once Randle and OG Anunoby went down, my assumption at that point was he looked at it and he's like, all right, well, I got 9 games until the All-Star break. I could push these guys hard for 9 games until the break and then start to make up for it after that. I don't. Lots of people tweeting about it. New York basketball, give credit to them. He's finding all the people tweeting about it. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on? Dom, I hate blaming L's on the refs, but we got jobbed. No, I you know me. I don't do this stuff. I don't. So it's okay. Sure, they didn't do themselves any favors in the second. I'd still rather lose to a buzzer beater from Jalen Green, hands down. That's the fucking they defended that possession so well. And their defense really, I thought their defense the entire second half was outstanding. I know they gave up 31 points in the fourth quarter. The Rockets came through with some big time shots in the fourth quarter. So, but yeah, there's no two ways about it. Hush Zoo, Tim Donahue masterclass. I'm just speechless. We're all speechless. I don't know what else to say. I feel like I just keep saying the same thing over and over again. I have no idea what else to say. I'm so frustrated. This is going to be one of those ones where you wake up tomorrow morning and it's the first thought that pops into your head is this, and it immediately starts your day off on a shitty note. It's one of those games. Kevin Danishevsky with another one. They should protest this game. I look, maybe they will. I don't know. How often does that happen? I don't know. Jason, what's going on, Jason? The Knicks win if Boyan starts. Play your best players. Well, look, Jason, we talked about this at halftime. I hear where you're coming from. Totally. The Knicks' 2 best players in this game, with all due respect to Jalen Brunson, were Precious Achiuwa and Josh Hart. And unless you're telling me you want to start Precious at the 5, which, look, that dude freaking battled as much as he could down the stretch of that game. Benji said it during the watch along, like during a certain portion, Precious at the 5 was like a layup line. It's a lot of imperfect options right now. Maybe if Boyan starts, they win. You might be right. I don't know. I understand why he's going with defense first to start the game. And, like, frankly, if they play the way they did in the second half, in the first half, if they come out of the gate like that, with that extra, which, like, again, like, I know the Rockets aren't great. They've been really, and they don't have Van Vliet. They've been really good at home this year, all year. Like, excellent home team. And they play hard every night. With who the Knicks are missing, like, they kind of needed to come out in the first half with the level of urgency they did in the second half. And if they do that, they win this game. And I'd go so far as to say they win this game going away. But to your point, maybe it would have worked. I don't think there are any great answers right now with who they are missing on this team. Thank you, Jason. Dom with another one. Thank you, Dom. I like that January blessed us with patience to rest guys. With that being said, I'm really divided on if I want to see iHeart play on Wednesday or not. LOL. I don't envy Tibbs. I mean, I don't think it's going to be Tibbs' call. I think it's going to be Hardenstein's call or the medical staff's call. Hardenstein with the medical staff. I think those two, they will come to a decision. If he could play, he'll play. I'm telling you this: if he can play, they're not going to sit him out. Just sit him out. That's not what this organization does. It's not in their ethos. It's not how they operate. If he could play, he's going to play. And you know what? He's going to have a week off. 8 days, actually. Right? Yeah. He's going to have 8 days off. Or 7 days off.
8 days off. They come back next Thursday.
8 days off. Yeah, Thursday. Yeah. No, 7 days off. Because they play on Wednesday.
Right.
And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. That's 7 days off.
And then all of Thursday.
Okay, fine. 7.5 days off.
Sure.
Regardless, if you could play, I think you should play. That's my 2 cents. Armand with another one. I know you love Tibbs, but when is it time to start blaming him for these injuries and playing guys too much? Now, Dante is hurt. It's not about... No one's trying to sit here and say that, like, I will say Dante and Hardenstein, those two, like the Achilles thing, it's an overuse injury. Dante, bum hammy, it's an overuse injury. No one's disputing that. I don't think anyone's disputing that, right? It's a matter of you are pushing guys to the limit. A lot of coaches wouldn't do this. A lot of organizations wouldn't do this. My pushback to these sorts of comments is that you either have a way to go about your business as an organization or you don't. And this is the way the Knicks go about their business. And this is what I would argue is as responsible for anything as part of the organizational turnaround outside of Jalen Brunson himself. And who, by the way, do you know who espouses this mentality as much as any player in the league? And I guarantee you as much as Tom Thibodeau himself, Jalen Brunson. Who's the guy where it's like, you need to put me out there for 48 minutes? I'll play 48 minutes. Now you want to tell me, okay, it's on the coach to rein back the player. If your players want to go 48 minutes, great. It's on you, the coach, to pull them back in. I hear that. But then you're not all about winning. And maybe that's where we are. It's like, you know what? There comes a certain point in time where winning is not as important. And
I need to jump in because this is now the second super chat you've done it. I don't think Armand is not about winning. I don't think the guy that you said should send in a smaller super chat is less about winning. I think what this team has shown is that there are larger priorities at the end of the season, and they don't need to go as extensive now.
Yeah,
and that doesn't mean they're not about winning. It's that they want their players healthy for what the end goal is eventually.
It's like you can't be half pregnant. It is a mentality. It is an
A
organizational
baby takes 9
ethos.
months to be born, which means you prioritize. You don't have the baby on day one.
Listen, it's an ethos. It's an ethos that you either have or you don't. You can't halfway it. I don't believe you could halfway it. You know what they do? If someone is not healthy enough to play, they will not play them. And you know how I know that? Because guys sit games. Jalen Brunson has missed games. Like they will not play guys if they are not healthy enough to play. If a player is healthy enough to play, they will push that player to the limit.
And we're seeing some limits on some players that are being forced to extend themselves to 40 minutes consistently. I know it's a tips thing, and you're going as far as you can.
This to me, it's all bundled up in the same package, which is like But here's the thing: I'm not defending the minutes thing and like pushing guys because it is Tom Thibodeau that is dictating the minutes. I'm defending it because it is part of the ecosystem. It is the ecosystem that they have built. And you cannot pick and choose. I don't believe, others may disagree. I don't believe you could pick and choose we are an organization that believes in 100% all the time. And that is how we do things here. But except when it's not convenient for us. I don't believe you could do that. I just don't.
I'm saying that what this organization had talent-wise the last 3 years, you almost had to overextend and push to the limit with the need to win games in order to keep pace. I think we're now at a point where, that's why I thought Hartenstein wasn't going to play tonight. I don't think he's going to play Wednesday either.
Yeah, he's not healthy enough to play, probably.
And part of the reason in the calculation is that he knows that, or the training staff knows, who they're sending him back to if they're going to make him play. This is like sourced, John. No, this is a sourced conversation that we're having. Like the training staff and Tibbs have been like, okay, you're playing your guys way too much. We know if we send him back to the Wolves, what's going to happen. And now there's another guy. Like, I'm not even saying I disagree with, like, listen, the trade-off is probably they lose this game by more. They're not even in the game.
You play.
I just don't think it means that people don't care about winning. I just don't think that's what you said twice to two different people. I don't think that means they care less about winning.
I'm not saying
they care about their players being healthy long term.
Yes, I understand that. I understand that, and that is important.
Mm-hmm. Especially for a team with playoff aspirations, which we all believe the Knicks have now, which in the past we haven't, which is why the regular season mattered so much more. I just think it's an important differentiation that we don't tell people. You don't care about winning if you want to see your players be healthy.
No, you either, in a 48-minute game, you have two choices. You either make every choice with, is this player that's going to be on the floor in this instance going to give me the best chance to win or not? And the reason why Jalen Brunson doesn't play 48 minutes every game is not because at some point that there is diminishing returns. I think part of every calculation in terms of how much he plays guys and how much he sits guys, inherent in every one of those decisions is at what point is there diminishing returns. And you could look at the Hartenstein injury, you could look at the DiVincenzo injury tonight and say, well, if that's not diminishing returns, what is? Okay, that is part of the chance you take. And I think part of the larger calculation is sometimes you might push guys too hard. And I think there are a lot of organizations in the NBA, probably the vast majority of organizations, who would never take that risk. And a lot of coaches who would never take that risk. This coach takes that risk. My point is just to say that taking that risk, pushing the guys as far as they will go, is absolutely entwined in the DNA of what has made the Knicks the organization they are from when they were something very, very different. That's all.
Do you believe that those other organizations, and not like the ones that stink, right? Like the other ones that do prioritize rest and certain rotations that you don't overextend guys in the regular season, do you think they don't care about winning? That's the objection, John. That's the objection I have. Okay. That you're telling people that are sending in chats that you don't care about winning.
Let me rephrase it. there is a specific approach to winning each and every game. I think every organization has a scale in which it tips more towards the long term and then more towards the short term. And part of the organizational ethos of this, it's about specifically trying to win every minute of every game. And obviously other organizations don't feel the same way because they rest healthy players, or players who are more or less healthy in an effort to keep them fresh long term. That is a choice. I'm not saying it's necessarily the wrong choice, but it's not the choice that this organization makes. That's all.
I don't even disagree with that point. I think that one of the things we love about this team is how intense they can play. The win against the Pacers last Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago was a testament to how intense they play regardless of who's in the rotation. So I'm not even objecting to the philosophy or the ethos that you're talking about. I'm just not telling people they don't care about winning if their players are dropping like flies. That's my only pushback.
The dropping like flies thing is such a gross overreaction.
Fine, Julius, dropping like five isn't the one, but we're now 5. We're 7 guys into the rotation.
That's nonsense. That's nonsense.
Dropping like flies isn't the one. We're now 7 guys into the normal rotation. I know Julius wasn't an overuse injury, but he's still
Julius
on the
wasn't
floor.
An overuse injury. OG wasn't an overuse injury. Mitch wasn't an overuse injury. Who am I forgetting? Taj. Sims was an illness. We're talking about Isaiah Hartenstein with an Achilles, and we're talking tonight about Dante DiVincenzo with a hammy, and that's fucking it. Stop trying to make this about something more than it is.
John, they are guys missing games. That's all I'm trying to say.
Okay, great. So you know how they should run their organization, Andrew? They should put the fucking players out there in bubble wrap. That's what they should do.
That's not it. No,
come on. No,
because you do this anytime someone pushes back on Tibbs.
What do you want? This is what we've gone past the Tibbs part of the conversation. We've gone way past the Tibbs part of the conversation. This is about how do you want to approach your life as an organization? And the Knicks made a decision when they hired Tom Thibodeau, knowing from up high. You don't think they knew this is what they were going to get?
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I laugh my ass off every time everybody's like, oh, the front office, if they had their druthers, they would never have him. They fucking hired the man. They hired the man. And they hired the man because they looked at the situation and they said, there are 120 some odd professional sports organizations. And you know what we stand for winning in comparison to those? We're last. We are dead last. And we're going to bring in the guy that turns that around. And you know what? Sometimes it's ugly and nasty business. But you know what he does? He fucking works. And that's why we are where we are today. And you want to sit here and you want to bitch and moan to me about Dante DiVincenzo's hamstring and Precious Achiuwa's, Isaiah Hartenstein's Achilles? Shit happens sometimes. Those are the sacrifices you make. Those are the concessions you make to get to this point where we're sitting here and we're like, oh my God, we've lost 3 games in a row. The sky is falling.
No.
As absurd as the officiating, this
whole
whole thing.
No. And I get it. We're at a point now. We're just going to have to agree to disagree.
Yes, we will.
I'm not upset with the ethos. I don't think that anybody that questions how many minutes are being played are upset with the ethos. The base level of competence, which I just said was the reason why we've fallen in love with this team again. The Pacer game I just used as an example. Okay. You mentioned diminishing returns. These are them, especially in regular season games.
Great.
I'm not even saying that it's a part of the reason that DiVincenzo got hurt tonight wasn't they were trying to win a game so they didn't lose 3 straight. You're right, there's diminishing returns, which is why it's an interesting conversation about the diminishing returns. The entire pushback was always stop telling people that they don't prefer winning.
I won't do that anymore. Winning. I won't do that. And to your point about falling in love with the team and falling in love with how they are, I love my wife to kingdom come. Would not trade her for anything. She can't fold laundry for shit. It sucks. It's annoying. It means I have to fold laundry every time we ever do a load of laundry until the day I die. It's really annoying. Would I do anything to be able to trade that in and swap it out for something else? Yes. After a long fucking day, do I feel like folding laundry? No. It's part of the package. And you either take the package or you either give the package back. I'm happy with the package. And that is the genesis of every single pushback that I ever give when people criticize this coach. Because
Oh,
you
I know.
can't have it. It's like having it all. It doesn't exist. And you know how I know that? And you know this better than anyone, Andrew? Because how many fan bases are always thrilled with their coach? Zero. There's always this stuff. You either choose a direction and you live with it, or you don't, and choose another direction. It's always going to be imperfect. It's the reality. It's the reality. Doesn't mean people can't complain. Absolutely, people can complain. They should complain. It's healthy. It's healthy to point out things. It's like, you know what? Wish we could have that a little bit differently. It's the level of the overreactions. That's all.
I think we exhausted this enough.
I would think so. Hush Zoo. Can't wait for the 2-minute report. That means absolutely nothing. Yeah, I think somebody already tweeted about that. DJ. Because it'll state the obvious. And guess what? Nothing will be done about this. Yes, just BS. Yeah. Nothing's going to be done. Nothing's going to be done. Frank Miranda, what's going on, Frank? How are you? What's up, Mac? It's your boy Frank from Patreon. I've never come on a post game and blamed the refs, but my God, well, if you were saving it for the right moment. And that travel by Senjun on the play prior was a serious miss as well. Yes, I think I misinterpreted what the other commenter was saying about the travel. I was thinking it was on the last play. Yes, the previous one was more egregious, 100%. And they could have called that there. These refs were terrible. Yes. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? Jalen got called for a foul on 2. Should have been charges, and then we end the game like that. Tibbs is spot on. The lack of calls for our superstar. Wally is actually spitting right now. Yeah, no, good job by Wally. Excellent job by Wally at the end there. Andrew pointed that out towards the end of our playback, and he was right to do so. As far as the charge, the one that I'm thinking of, there's one that comes to mind where he was definitely there in time. And it was all about whether he was in the restricted area. It looked from our vantage point like he was not in the restricted area. Didn't get to see a replay. Yeah, I'll say this. I bet here you go. Here's criticism of Tibbs. I bet if you gave him some truth serum, he would tell you that he fucked up by using the challenge when he did. In this game, in this sort of game, I think he would admit readily that he screwed up by using that challenge when he did. Thank you, Dom. Alex, what's going on, Alex? Refs allowed Brunson to get abused all damn game. I've seen enough Ed Malloy referee games to know there's crap going on with him and the books. Listen, man, you might be right. You might be right. Yep. I wish I could say something else. Who the hell knows? Who the hell knows? Robert W. Cross, what's going on, Robert? I encourage everyone to get pissed off. After all, it is better than being pissed on. Better to be pissed off than pissed on. I wonder who first said that. That's a great quote. It's a great quote. Agreed. Will Oliver, what's going on, Will? The 2-minute report will be fun read tomorrow. I mean, can you imagine if it actually comes out and says that it shouldn't have been, it wasn't a foul? Which, again, I don't even care. I don't even care. You just don't make that call there. You just don't make the call. Can't do it. Dom with another one. What's going on, Dom? I hope they can get one in Orlando with or without Devo and iHeart. Oh, baby. Seriously, serious nut cutting time. I mean, listen, playing the Magic, honestly, the Magic and the Rockets are like kind of mirror images of each other. They're young teams. They come out. They play hard. They don't. I guess the difference is that and the reason the Magic have a much better record than the Rockets is the Magic for a young team really don't shoot themselves in the foot, and the Rockets kind of do. Like the Magic don't have a Jalen Green on their team, a player who's like young and interesting and sometimes does good stuff, and like at other times, I think you would probably point to him as the reason the Knicks weren't down 25 in the first half. So yeah, the Magic don't have that. They're a better team than the Rockets. And they are, I actually haven't checked in a while how healthy they are or are not. As I understand it, they're healthy enough. They got enough of the guys to win. And so if the Knicks don't have DiVincenzo, I would assume I mean, I would assume it's Burks, and you're going to get a lot of Alec Burks, which is like, look, Alec Burks is awesome. Alec Burks has been one of the best. He's been an awesome shooter this year. I think that's a drop off. That's a drop off. So if they don't have, to say nothing of the fact that Burks is going to need to play a ton of minutes if DiVincenzo's out, it's gonna be tough. They're gonna need Deuce to step up, play some important minutes if DiVincenzo's out. We'll see. I think it's an important game. I mean, tonight was an important game. Trevor Boom, what's going on, Trevor? Jalen shouldn't have been in for the last play in the first place. If there's one shot left in the game, why not play your best defensive players? Yeah, I mean, look, it's a valid criticism. So who was in the game? It was Precious, Hart, Burks. They didn't have DiVincenzo. Deuce. So then if you don't have Brunson in the game, you don't have DiVincenzo to go to. Because he's in the locker room. So who else? You don't want Bogey. I'd rather have Brunson in there than Bogey. Brunson fights like hell. He's more mobile than Bogey. I know he's smaller, but he's more mobile, and you have him on the perimeter guarding, so I don't have an issue with that. So then it's basically a matter of, would you rather have Jericho Sims out there instead of Brunson? And I think, given the fact that they trusted at that point Precious Achiuwa to handle Senjun, because of that specifically, and because Jericho Sims is kind of jumpy, as we were pointing out in the first half, Benji was pointing out in the first half, and you don't want him jumping up and committing a foul. I kind of think Brunson was the play. I'm not putting in like Charlie Brown Jr. or Obi's brother. Not doing that. So, yeah. Thanks, Trevor Boom. Jeremy Chase, what's going on, Jeremy? The refs let that Dick Cheese Dylan Brooks beat the crap out of JB all game. He's good at that. Like, specifically, he's good at beating the shit out of you and getting away with it. He's a good. I don't want to make that out to be like the only thing he does defensively, but he's very good at that, and he's honed that skill, and it's a skill. It's a skill. Give Houston 33 free throws to our 12, and then have the balls to call that bullshit. Yeah. Yep. Hush Zoo. Wow, this is the same ref that missed the blatant foul call on LeBron in the Celtics game last year. Glad he's still refereeing games, and he's going to be refereeing games for a long time. He's one of the NBA's top referees. He's the crew chief. He's the crew chief. He's absolutely the crew chief. Haitian with another one. What's going on, Haitian? I think it's time we pay homage to the refs we used to hate. In all sports, we're seeing a new wave of officials that aren't ready. It's going to get worse before it gets better. I miss Bavetta. LOL. Yeah, we didn't. This definitely falls under the category. We didn't know how good we had it. For sure. Thanks, Haitian. Appreciate you, man. Hush, another one. I'm still stunned. 29 to 9 in free throws. How is this real? It was more than that, right? But yeah, it was whereabouts. It was a big discrepancy. Fuddy, what's going on, Fuddy? How are you, my friend? Always good to see you. The irony of Brunson being pinned for that when he never gets calls. Bontemps called it the worst call ever. We'll look back on this game and laugh. Great playback. If you're not a KFS patron supporter, change that. That's very kind of you. I thought we did what we could with that game through what was a very ugly first half for sure, and a very fun second half. I was happy we were on playback for the second half. In terms of the Brunson part of it and Bontemps specifically, I mean, listen, Tim Bontemps been around for a long time, been reporting on the NBA for a long time. He's not someone that is prone to hyperbole. I promise you. Tim Bontemps is not someone that is prone to hyperbole. For him to tweet out that is the worst call of all time says all I need to know. Honestly, him saying that, I don't even need to see what anybody else says about the call. And that's probably why the Knicks didn't even say they didn't overreact, or they didn't appear to overreact in the locker room, because they know they don't need to. They know they don't need to, because they have other people do it for them. Anthony Strano, what's going on, Anthony? The calls aren't just bad; they're selective. No consistency whatsoever. Complete horseshit. Well, that's what Tibbs has said repeatedly. All he wants is consistency. Just be consistent with the calls. And I bet at the end of the day, I bet Tibbs is a lot more mad about the 33-12. Is that what the final margin was? I bet he's a lot more mad about the 33-12 than he is about the final play. Yeah, 33-12. Because that shows a lack of consistency. Thank you, Anthony. Alex. Tibbs, please take a lesson from three-time NBA head coach, three-time champion NBA head coach Steve Kerr, and not continue to accept this BS. Call out the ridiculous free throw disparity like Kerr would. I mean, I don't. That's sure. I'm fine with anyone who wants more in that vein. That's not something that I'm not gonna. I don't care the fact that he didn't say whatever he could have said, I guess, in the post game. I think he knows he doesn't need to say anything. And again, it's not gonna make a difference. It's not gonna make a difference. Jared, thank you for the contribution. Sam Garcia, Donahue was right. Hashtag Donahue was right. Yeah. Thanks, Sam. Charlie Boyd third. What's going on, Charlie? No accountability whatsoever for the refs ever. Ed Malloy has been a clown for years. He's not the only one either. Like the stuff that's been going on with, Chris Paul and Scott Foster. That's horrendous. Like the fact that there's a thing now where ahead of playoff games, it's like seeing who the refs are for big games, and like the reaction amongst like even like just like a lot of people are around like who watch the sport. The fact that the reaction is like, oh, of course the NBA put this ref on this game between these two teams. Like that should never happen. That should never happen, that sort of reaction. And we get that reaction all the time. Exhibition continues. What's going on? I, for one, can't wait for the tweet explaining that they got the call right and we're all just stupid. Fuck the refs. I think we're going to get it. I would not be surprised in the least if we saw the last 2 minutes report and they said, good call. It's not the point. It's not the point. Stephen Peoples, what's going on, Stephen? Thank you for the generous contribution. Thank you for everybody who has made generous contributions tonight. Appreciate that. I'll let everyone else comment on that atrocious foul call. I think the criticism of Tibbs and too many minutes is overblown. Unfortunately, Philly is half a game back on us now, and we're further back of the 3 seed. One more game before the All-Star break. Well, I appreciate that comment, and I'll share something that I said during I think I said it during halftime when we were watching the end of the Philly Cleveland game. There was a part of me watching the end of that game, and I was like, man, my instinct is to root for Philly, right? Because we're trying to catch Cleveland. And there was a part of me that was like, man, maybe I should just be rooting for Cleveland to win this game and continue to try to put Philly in our rearview mirror. Because there is a big part of me that wonders if Cleveland is not just like, I mean, look, it's 3 games up with 28 to go. It's certainly not insurmountable. I mean, you can make up 3 games in 10 games, You could definitely make up 3 games in 28 games. But and ultimately whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And let me say this. I'm kind of at a point where like, look, I want the 3 seed. I mean, I'd love the 2 seed. I want the 3 seed. After that, I wonder if we might not be looking at a situation. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I'll say this consistently moving forward. And I'm not saying you could position for this. I'm not saying that they should be like trying to lose games or anything, but I could see a scenario where we get to the playoffs and the team that is in 6th feels better about their path to a potential Eastern Conference Finals than the team that is in 4th or 5th. I could see that being the case. Not saying it's going to be the case. To be clear, not saying that's going to be the case. But, like, I think it's on the table. But, look, continue to try to win games, which they're trying to do. They're trying to do that. Trying to win games. Tingus Pingus. What's going on? Tingus. I miss Quick and Grimes and wish we had Bruce Brown. Burks, Boyan are good, but old and slow. I think Boyan's slow. I don't think Burks is slow. I think Burks is Burks. With that trade, less hustle and defensive tenacity, which upsets me. Look, it was somewhat of a gamble. I think it's a little bit unfair to group IQ and Grimes and then put them against Burks and Boyan. Would you trade Quickly and Grimes for Burks and Boyan? No, you would not. No, you would not. And they didn't do that trade. They traded IQ for OG Anunoby. I like the trade. I like both trades. You're telling me Bruce Brown instead of Boyan and Burks? Because here's the thing, right? I don't know if they were getting Burks. Now, look, you may not care. But financially, it was going to be very tough to figure out a trade for Burks that did not involve Fournier. And they were never, first of all, they can't get Brown without trading Fournier. So that wasn't even on the table. So finding a way that works under the cap, a trade for Burks to bring Burks in here. So my guess is it was either going to be Brown or Burks and Boyan. Not like I don't think that there was going to be a way for you to get Burks and Brown. And frankly, where this team is at with their offense and how limited they are on offense, I prefer Burks and Boyan. That's me. Reasonable minds could disagree, but that's where I'm at. James Choi, what's going on, James? Game's over, on to the next. There will continue to be a fire under this team. Be fearful, NBA will be healthy soon. Yeah, I think that's probably the proper takeaway. I think that's the most sensible thing that anybody has said. Anthony Sixto. What's going on, Anthony? Yeah, amen to this. DJ tweeted about it before. The longer Randle is out, the more you see teams get physical with Brunson, making life harder. Nights like these, you see the value of Julius Randle that isn't measured in stats outside of JB's three-point percentage. And just like, again, it's the fact that Tibbs is able to play Julius Randle 40 minutes like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. And he's been able to do that for 3.5 years. Need me for 38, 39, 40, 41, 42 tonight. When do we see drop-off in Julius? Now, look, I understand when I say that part of the reason you don't see drop-off is the level of intensity on the defensive end is not always quite there. I understand that. But then you look at what he does on the offensive end and how big his impact is and how much he just puts everything else into place. Look, I said it. I will at least pat myself on the back for this. I was all over this when the injury happened. There was, I think, let me say this. I think if OG was here and healthy, I think it would be a slightly different conversation, but not by much. They need Randle. They need Randle. They need him back. They need him healthy, and they will get him back. I'm sure of that. Richard Bailey, what's going on, Richard? How you feeling about Bogey and Burks after 2 games? Feeling okay. Burks hasn't shot it well. Actually, he shot it well the other night. Didn't shoot well tonight. Bogey hasn't really shot it well, but I think you see the reasons that they're here. I think they need to get comfortable in the offense. I think they need to get comfortable with the defense. I will say this: the lack of kind of toughness from Bogey, you saw it tonight. You saw it mattered tonight. But then, this wouldn't have been a game down the stretch if Bogey didn't do what he did in the fourth quarter. So you needed him. I think we know what Burks is. I'm fine with it. I'll say it again. I think I want to see it with everybody. I want to see it with everybody healthy, or at least most of the guys healthy. I want to see how it all slots into place. Thank you, Richard. Sean with a W. Aaron Holiday, 7 for 14, 18 points. Unacceptable. You could easily, thank you, Sean. You could easily say the difference in the game was what Aaron Holiday did at the beginning of the fourth quarter. If you want to say that's where the game turned, you could absolutely say that's where the game turned because they had battled back to tie that game. And I know it was a 3-point margin going into the fourth, but they let Aaron Holiday absolutely have their way, and they let down their guard. They let down their guard for what was essentially like it was just 3 or 4 minutes that they let down their guard. Like, if you want to group in, like Andrew made a good point, like if you want to group in the last play of the third quarter, which happened with like seconds to go remaining in the third, and then you want to look at the beginning of the fourth, and a lot of this was Aaron Holiday, like the Rockets rattled off. I'm trying to pull it up, but my internet's being pretty shitty. That was the game right there. You could shouldn't have been the game, but in retrospect, you could kind of say it was. Alex, let's not forget Malloy and Co. got Precious into foul trouble early while ignoring all of Brooks's hacking and saying June walks. Pathetic. Good night, John. Thank you, Alex. Appreciate you for all the contributions tonight. Yeah, I mean, it was atrocious. All the way through. It's bad. Alex, what's going on, Alex? On a different note, that block by Precious could have gone down with memorable end-of-game blocks by Ihart on Spida or Nerlens against the Mavs. Precious was outstanding. Was so big. Was so big. It was with 21.3 seconds to go, I think I had it at. Yeah. So it was the block that basically gave Brunson a chance to tie the game. It was the block that gave Brunson a chance to tie the game. Brunson does not have the chance to tie the game if it was not for that defensive play. Absolutely. Great job by you to point that out. Thank you, Alex. El Coriano 11. How you doing, El Coriano 11? Ibaka available, shot blocker and floor spacer. Pretty sure he's retired. So don't think these are the droids you're looking for. Thanks, El Coriano. Haitian Ferg, Mo Wagner, and D'Lo and Ed Malloy, all punchable faces. Wagner's a great call. D'Lo, not so much for me. I mean, sure, that's fine. D'Lo's fine. I'll give you that. Mo Wagner, definitely. Mo Wagner, absolutely. And can we throw Kyle Lowry in there, actually? Mostly because of the shady shit that he does. There was another one the other night against Jaylen Brown. I think Kyle Lowry has a pretty punchable face. Throw him in there, too. All right, I finally got the numbers up real quick. So the Knicks, I don't even know where to cut it off exactly. So if we cut it off at the Aaron Holiday layup with 9:17 to go in the fourth, that's really where we probably should cut it off. That gave the Rockets 14 points in essentially 2 minutes and 45 seconds. And that was the game. And Holiday made 4 baskets in that stretch. My God. Yeah, you can't do that. And then at that point, the Rockets had 85 points with 9:17 left to go in the fourth. They scored 20 the rest of the game. Should have been 17. So if you're the Knicks and you give up 17 points over the final 9:17 of the fourth, you feel okay about that. So their defense did great job all the third quarter until the last play. Defense did a great job over the final 9 minutes and 17 seconds of the game. And it was literally just a span of less than 3 minutes where the defense let up. But sometimes that's all it takes. Sam Garcia's dad, Dolan should sue the refs. Well, he's very litigious. So maybe he will. Thank you, Ray.
So I'm just going to jump up here and say that Alex wasn't referring to the block that led to the jump ball. He was referring to the block on the possession that led to the Brunson foul. He blocked Holiday, and that's why the ball got swatted out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Absolutely.
And the next sequence of Super Chats, there are 11 left, all started after I came up here and you and I got into it. So
great.
They are with that tone in mind.
Fantastic. I can't wait to read them. Ray, playing your players to the point they get injured, which leads to losses, is not about winning. I think a lot of people probably share that opinion. I think to assume that the players are going to get injured because you're pushing them. That's an assumption. That's an assumption. Thank you, Ray. Armand with another one. Here we go. I had this argument with Holtzman on Twitter. Tibbs is a great coach, but his teams have historical precedent of players getting injured or being gassed come playoff time. He needs to change or it's time to move on. Well, one, he's not going to change. So if you want to move on from him, you move on from him. And trust me, there's been a lot of people who've wanted to move on from him for years. They don't think the trade-off is worth it. A lot of smart people out there think that the trade-off is not worth it. I will push back on the historical precedent of players getting injured and being gassed come playoff time. I think if you put the Rose injury aside, which is I mean, look, you could write a book on that injury. One of the most significant moments in the history of the league. Full stop. Other than that, I don't know that there's been some kind of history of Tibbs players getting injured in the playoffs. And frankly, I don't know that I could see a lot of instances of his teams being gassed in the playoffs. Were the Knicks gassed against Cleveland in the first round last year? Did they lose to the Heat because they were gassed? I don't think so. Reasonable minds may disagree. Did they lose to the Hawks 2 years ago because they were gassed? I'm thinking back to some of those series with the Bulls. Bulls Heat second round. Pushed the eventual world champion Heat. I remember those games pretty well. That wasn't a gassed team. That was a team that pushed the eventual champs further than they had any right to be pushed. Did the Bulls in year one of the Tibbs era lose to the Heat, the eventual Eastern Conference finalists, because they were gassed? Or the eventual NBA finalists because they were gassed? I don't think so. I think they just ran into a better team. I don't. This is one of those things where for me, this is where the narrative takes over the truth. And I just again, people want to criticize. Look, I go over the top with this stuff because I'm just very passionate about it. And that's just what I'm going to do. There, so many criticisms, so fair to levy, incredibly fair to levy. I would like there to be at least some accuracy on the historical record. That's all. Fuddy. Great call. Next question. There you go. I like it. Haitian Ferg. Not caring about winning is just as extreme as fans blaming the coach for minutes when we're missing from injuries that had nothing to do with the coach in the first place. It's a lose-lose combo. It was a poor choice of words. I agree with that. But I think you saw the point I was trying to make. That's all. Mythic Monty, black and white thinking fallacy, John. Maybe. I don't see it that way. Again, a lot of people are going to disagree with me. This is one of those things you're just not going to get me to relent off of. I think it is more about you take the package. You either take the package or you get a new package. But to decide what parts of the package you want and what parts of the package you don't want, that's not reality. It's just not. Colin Day, sorry I was late folding laundry. Anything exciting happened? No, you didn't miss much. Thanks, Colin. Kevin, what's going on, Kev? How are you? Thank you for another generous contribution. I feel like there's some middle ground between AC and JMac that the front office has reached. Medical staff, in my opinion, is very conservative with injuries to counteract Tibbs. For the most part, it works. No major injury without this front office, or no major injury with this front office. Yeah, and that's part of it. That's part of it. I love this point. I love this comment because that is the front office's job. If you are going to hire a coach that you know, and you knew the day you hired him, and you know it now, that is going to push the limits as far as any coach in the league is going to push them, then you absolutely should be able to step in sometimes and be like, you know what? We're not going to give you the choice to push this limit this far, which is why, for as utterly ridiculous, and it was the most ridiculous thing he said all year, the "it's all medical" comment was from Tibbs. I kind of appreciated there was some truth in the jest there. Not that he was laughing, but that, like, for him, it's like it once it gets across his desk, it's up to him. If it's medical, it's medical. He stays out of it. Thank you, Kevin. All right, busy. Here we go. I'm ready. John, stop. Tibbs is instant gratification instead of big picture. Oh, I know Busy's been saving this up. This isn't something that should be compared to your wife. You can have your cake and eat it too there. There are coaches, winning coach that does what we are asking for. Hashtag heat culture. How many regular season games Jimmy plays again? Big picture, coaching wasn't going to send a super chat, but your stubbornness is baffling. You're not the only one who's baffled by it. Tibbs, who started load management? 5-time NBA champion Greg Popovich. A lot of coaches do it differently. And yeah, absolutely, Jimmy load manages. 100%. And that's something that the Heat have arrived at the place where they could do that, and credit to them. Credit to them for being able to do that, and credit to them for being very comfortable sitting in 8th place. Game back of the Pacers. Game back of the Magic. 2.5 games up on the Bulls for 9th. Credit to them for not caring that fans of theirs, high and low, long and wide, long and far, I don't know, are saying this is it. We're done. This is nonsense. This team just, like, what are we doing here? Credit to them. They have a belief, in what they've done. They feel like they could get to that. They have arrived at that point where they do not need to push it as hard. And yeah, Pop, absolutely. Pop, king of load management, right? I guess, Pop's record speaks for itself, right? Have we gone too far in the other direction from the load management thing? Pop started it. He kind of invented the concept. And I don't know. As far as what my own, opinions about Tibbs, I'm pretty well documented. I think it's worth the trade-off for this organization specifically. Thank you, Busy. Another one. Remind me how many rings Tibbs has again. Show me where this has worked before. You really want me to show you where pushing guys to go look through all of NBA history until the last 10, 15 years. This is how it's always been done. You play your best players. That's it. Like, it's just, I don't know what else, I don't know how else to say other respond to that other than literally always up until the last 10, 15 years. And, like, go look at playoff rotations, and frankly, honestly, just go look at regular season minutes. Like, go compare some of, you're always it's always gonna stand out sometimes on certain nights and in certain segments when guys are down and, like, you're overextending guys. To pretend like he's the only coach that does this, A, and B, to pretend like playing your best players more minutes does not yield positive results sometimes. Come on. Let's be serious for a second. This is, by the way, Ed Malloy. I'll read this. This is per Fred Katz. After seeing it during post-game review, the offensive player was able to return to a normal playing position on the floor. The contact, which occurred after the release of the ball, therefore, is incidental and marginal to the shot attempt and should not have been called. Well, that's fucking great. That's great. Contact which occurred after the release of the ball, therefore, is incidental and marginal to the shot attempt. That should not have been called. I think that's what they call insult to injury, my friends. I think that's what they call that. Busy with another one. And we're not even asking for load management. Just don't kill them for one February win. Don't play them for 16 straight minutes. Josh Hart reacts. Of course he does. Busy. I'm being very sincere. I'm not. For me to sit here and be like, it's totally fine to play a player 16 straight minutes, I'm not going to do that. And if you listen to me carefully, when I get up here and I do what I do, or I try to do what I do, I tend to focus on the larger picture, and the decision making process behind all of this. And my point is not that Tom Thibodeau is perfect. I've never said that. I've tried never to say that anybody who, has issues with how he goes about his business has no leg to stand on. They absolutely do. My point has always remained that you cannot pick and choose. This is a coach who believes I'm going to try my best with the players that I have to win every game. And he thinks that if he has a healthy player, that he has an internal calculation of how far he could push that player. And I'm sure the player is involved in that decision as well. All right? The decision sometimes may not work out. If Dante DiVincenzo has to miss time, you could easily say this decision did not work out. Decisions can be made and be wrong. The decision to hire Tibbs may work out to be wrong. I don't know. My point is just about picking and choosing when you want him to be the guy that during big wins, we sit up here and we praise and laud for turning around the organization. If you want that, you get this. That's all. It's my only point that I'm trying to make. It's the world. It's reality. Thank you, Busy. Dom Cappuccini, this too shall pass. The Knicks are still really good. Yep. No disagreement. Let's go Knicks on Wednesday. Yes. Kevin, some of you want Fizdale back secretly. Oh, man. Come on. There are people who've never wanted Tibbs. And who would be dancing. That's really why I always get Andrew. When Andrew gets on me, when you're like, they're not making it about Tibbs. You're making it about Tibbs. Like, I know the undercurrent that exists.
Why are we assuming that?
Because I'm not going to say it.
Like
you're
Kevin,
telling me that there's not an undercurrent of a significant portion of Knicks fans
in our bubble where people send you money to comment on things? No, I don't actually. I do think that people just want you to give an honest reaction to something without disrespecting them. That's what I think happens, John.
I don't know.
And Kevin, I appreciate the comment. I always do. I love our back and forth. It's on Immaculate Grid. You can criticize Tibbs and not secretly want Fizdale back. How's that?
I didn't say people want Fizdale back. There is an undercurrent. That's my point.
Okay.
I don't think I disrespected anybody.
Okay.
St. Nick's NYC. You're right, John. These gusts are idiots. We would have to be in the Heat's position 8th. Buzzy is drunk. No, I don't think Buzzy's drunk.
I don't think Buzzy's drunk either. Very notable patron. Love your contributions on all of our town halls, Busy.
No, but
appreciate the many contributions you gave tonight.
Yes, and I completely agree. And Busy has Busy has point.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he wants Fizdale back either. I also think he's happy with the 5th seed where the Knicks are right now, or the 4th seed. Where are they? Ahead of Philly still? The 4th seed. Yeah,
the Knicks are 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
2 more.
Okay. Manny Campos, Ed Malloy just admitted to Fred Katz the call was wrong per Woj. Yeah. I'm sure that's going to make the rounds.
Thanks, Ed.
And then Fuddy with another one. Okay, this post game has made me feel better about this loss. How so? I'm going to pour another whiskey and watch Sopranos. I met Buscemi a couple nights ago. Season 5 it is. Oh, that's awesome, man. I know he's one of your heroes. Maybe the best season? I don't know. It's up there. It's up there.
And we are done.
You think I went too far?
I think
okay. I know. Listen, you call it spade. You're never unfair. You're never unfair with me. If you say I went too far, then I probably went too far.
Here's my 2 cents on it. I normally agree with you. I'm not someone that wants to fire the head coach. I do think at times the minutes thing is overblown. I very much, because I saw the Fizdale and the Hornacek and the Kurt Rambis and the Isaiah Thomas era. I very much appreciate what the Knicks have. And I like, to your point, like my wife makes me do the dishes. That doesn't mean I don't get to complain about doing the dishes. And it doesn't mean I don't love her if I do complain.
Oh, see, I never complained about my wife. I've never once uttered a complaint about my wife. And I never will.
And I don't think if you ever did, it doesn't mean you don't love her, is my point. And I don't think if I say, man, Tibbs, you're playing these guys too much, that means I secretly want a different coach. There's an undercurrent of anything.
To me,
I think I'm accepting right to you because everything he does leads to this base level of competence you've always wanted.
No, it's either well, that is it. That is
it is that he is you personified in a head coach, and it's why I accept it, John.
Yes.
I just don't think other people that aren't you don't care about winning. That was my only pushback. You told somebody send a smaller super chat and say, and so that way it just says don't care. I don't care about winning, which I don't think is necessary. That was my pushback.
You're right. I don't know if it was a poor choice of words. I don't think I was being disrespectful. But it was a poor choice of words, but it was because there was a point behind it that I was trying to make that I could have made more eloquently. How about that?
Fair.
That's fair?
That's fair. Fine.
Okay. That's it? We're done? You don't want to argue about something else?
Leo in Killers of the Flower Moon wasn't that good, by the way.
Oh, that's crazy.
I thought it was like comical at a certain point.
That's awful. That's much worse than any take you've ever had about anything else.
Also, trying to think of something else.
No, that's the only. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
It's still egregious that he wasn't nominated. He was and Margot Robbie, but almost as egregious. Although I did like Annette Bening and Nyad. I thought she was very good, but it's.
I don't know if my movie opinion matters here, but I'm impartial to Zac Efron. That's my snub. That's my snub for this year.
I have to see that one. Okay. Yeah. We're done. Thank you everybody for tuning into this exhilarating post game. Sure, nobody regrets their life choices after that. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. Please do so. Do the 5-star review rating and leave a review and all that stuff. We appreciate you, and we will be back with more fun and games soon.